Welcome, everyone. We are super excited to be here. We have some really great content for you today about helping engineering teams be more productive. And let's just dive right into it. My name is Ben Lloyd Pearson. I lead the DevRel function here at Linear B, and I'm joined today by my friend Ofer. And if you wouldn't mind saying a couple words about yourself.
Sure, Ben. Also excited to be here. I'm Ofer Afias. I'm leading the GitStream product and DevTools product in Linear B.
Awesome. Thanks, Ofer. So let's get right into it. So if you're here today, you might be aware that this is a part of a three-part series. This is the second of three. Our first session that was about a month ago was titled Benchmark, and it covers how to build your first engineering metrics function within your organization. Today, it's going to be all about workflow automation for developer efficiency. And then if you want, you should join us here in about another month for our last session titled Improve, which will help you take the information you learned from these first two sessions and apply that to help drive business outcomes. So without further ado, let's get into Automate. Our agenda today is going to cover topics like CI/CD, where you can make improvements to that, how programmable workflows fit into this equation, some policy as code examples that you can actually just implement today, as well as setting merge standards across your organization and helping scale efficiency across your software delivery lifecycle. So let's dive in. Let's start with why we're here today. So the history of tech has been sort of driven a lot by financial downturns. So back in the early 2000s, we had the dot-com bust, and that sort of led to the emergence of the Agile manifesto and the Agile way of building software. Back in 2008, we probably all remember the financial meltdown that happened then. And sort of a response to that was to build these new CI/CD tools that help developers be a lot more efficient in the way they build and deploy software. And today, there's been another economic turmoil that we're going through that, and it might seem like it's been different than previous rounds. However, the effects are still very similar, and we believe that it's leading to the emergence of this concept that we're calling continuous merge. And in continuous merge applies many of the practices from CI/CD to earlier steps in the software delivery lifecycle.
And we should make it clear that we are not talking about something to replace the CI/CD, but more to augment this process, because there is a lot of room for improving the efficiency in time and costs. And I think this is what we are talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So the last 10 years have brought immense efficiency increases, but really only in the latter half of the software delivery lifecycle. So this is where, these CI/CD tools that we're talking about exist. It's in the building, the testing, and deploying phases primarily. And the reality is that the DevOps movement largely ignored the first half of this process. So today we're going to focus on that. And by moving your workflow automations to the left, the first half of this pipeline, teams are once again able to increase their quality and efficiency, not by scaling team size, but by scaling the efficiency of your organization as a whole. And this new continuous merge movement is being led primarily by platform engineering teams.
Yeah, actually, we hear a lot of emerging developer experience team as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Gartner estimates that by 2026, about 80% of software engineering organizations will have established some sort of platforms engineering team. And these teams focus, like Ofer said, on developer productivity, on developer experience. And the thing is, you don't need to go out and hire a platform engineering team today. And you probably also don't have the budget to do so anyways. So today we're going to talk about how you can use pre-merge workflow automation via programmable pipelines to start improving your team's efficiency today. And first, we're going to dive a little bit into this concept of continuous merge, so we have a little bit more context about what's to come. So CM, continuous merge, it's a mindset about applying workflows to optimize the PR merge path for both velocity and quality. So there's really two goals with this. The first is to optimize PR reviews by routing the PRs based on the characteristics of the PR itself. So it's things like notifying your security team about sensitive changes, ensuring that appropriate teams are being looped into the review process when code that they care about is modified, things like that. And then the second goal is to encourage more frequent and faster merges by adding context and codifying policies. So this is really all about reducing the mental burden on code reviewers and helping maintainers get up to speed more quickly when they receive new PRs. And it really all comes down to this balance of quality versus efficiency. Not every team or project is the same, and projects also change in time. Change really is a constant in today's software world. And continuous merge is a framework that not only can help you today, but it can also remain flexible enough to adapt to your changing needs down the road. So now, Ofer, I believe you have some discrete examples that you've encountered where engineering teams have adopted some CM practices. Would you mind sharing those with us at this point?
Yeah, sure. I believe we'll be happy to share. Yeah, let's go with it. So the first section of things that it's I think it's around quality. When you want to have some standards around that, I think the first and foremost thing that we see with our in linear B, because we are like exposed to a lot of a lot of the industry, is assigning the right reviewers. I think this is one of the problems that because what's happened is that if you don't assign the right reviewer, actually what you'll get, you won't get the right let's say quality at the end, and actually you can even like get the wrong comments, because you get someone out of the domain, out of the knowledge of what we are trying to do. You get the wrong comments. So the first thing is to assign the right reviewers. The other thing is um, there is times when you need to bring to the PR, to the change, people from other domains like security. And there is a gap between, usually there is a gap between the teams and the domain knowledge. So it's essential to for example, to bring the security team into awareness when something with high risk like potentially can get to production, or you're trying to do something else. Next is in teams, you have you want to enforce best practices. So you have your linter, right? This checks that everything that is in line with what other company defined and already defined in the code. But you also have things specific for your team, things that you want to, let's say, stop using, like some deprecated APIs, or use some conventions in your PR titles, right? This leads me to the Jira ticket, and it means that when usually I think it's well established that you want to have in the PR, in the context of the PR, you have to link every PR to the project management ticket, right? Because it helps like to understand the context. And it even actually required by some of the compliances. So this is very important. And the last two is, there are changes, there are projects that you need more reviewers. Actually, you need more team members to check and verify that everything is intact. Sometimes in some industries, you can see even like 3 or even more reviewers required for every PR. So yes, it's but it's sometimes necessary. And you also want to to ensure that documentations are up to date, right? Because mostly documentation, if you don't maintain them, they become irrelevant, and then no one cares to keep them up to date, right? And then you lose it. But so I think one of the principles is make sure that every time you change something in the code, documentations are aligned and updated and synced. Yep.
Yeah, and I really love those last two because you think about like requiring extra reviewers for a PR. A lot of organizations they adopt like a one size fits all review policies where they enforce like maybe one or two reviews for every PR. Well, if you design your review process in a way that only brings in those extra reviewers when you need them, then you're not spamming your developers with excessive reviews. And then that last one, I'm a huge fan of docs, because I think they're often overlooked, and it seems like very few people actually care deeply enough about them to be like that quality enforcer. So
Yeah.
having automations
T-
that detect this, it really
yeah.
just saves a bunch of time and effort.
Took me 20 years in the industry to understand that documents are essential.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about efficiency.
Yeah, let's do that. Um, so efficiency is also important. Efficiency is like what I think we care a lot about as developers. We want to make an impact and do it fast without too much boilerplates or toil. And the following things can help with that. So I think the number one thing that I want to like, if there is one thing to take from this workshop is this. Okay, so keep your changes small when possible. Keep it to small chunk of changes, small PRs. If you do that, everything else is going to be much, much more easier in your flow. The second thing is maybe related, but limit the complexity. Try to focus on a single problem that you can isolate. Don't be tempted like to do more than one thing in every change. Again, this simplifies everything.
Yeah, and actually, I want to make a point here. These first two are huge, like you said. Time and time again, research has shown us that smaller changes are easier to understand, have lower risk, get reviewed, merged, and deployed much more quickly. So, doing these two things can actually have immense impacts on an organization.
Yep. The third thing is you can re- like reduce the barriers for safe changes. For example, someone updates the documentations. You don't have two people to review that, right? In some projects you do, in some companies you do, but mostly 80% of the companies actually it's okay. Let the people like put more documents. Worst case, you can fix them. And same for like non-functional formatting or test. You want to encourage your developers to do that. The more, the better. Reduce the barriers there. Um, and we talked about like I think I mentioned before, like you have like best practices for your team. So in that case, if you can automate, do an automations that checks for things that you care in your team, like deprecated APIs. Let's say you have a list of things that you want to get rid of, and usually you have to go to the PR and see this I don't know team member keep using them and comment, and then you have to get back to this PR again and again without any reason. If you can automate this stuff like the linters, you actually save a lot of time and context switching for everyone. And last is um, solutions for making people aware, the right people aware of code changes. Like if you have like localization team, and you want to make sure that whenever the English content is changed, the Japanese translator is also aware of that. This is something that it's important, like to have it a way to do that. Same goes with other domains like security, DevOps, etc. If you touch a database, you want these things that other domains care about and want to be notified.
Yeah, and we've seen this one a lot, probably because tools like GitHub and GitLab have implemented things like code owners capabilities that will like auto assign reviewers based on the directories that are modified. We'll get into this a little bit more in a moment because we found that some of the existing tools like code owners are still lacking for some of the use cases that are out there in the market, and we've been trying to solve that. So yeah, thanks, Ofer. These are all really great examples, and like let's dive into what it looks like to actually start implementing some of these now.
Great.
And we do that with a tool called GitStream. This is a free tool that we built to help teams adopt continuous merge. You can get started with GitStream in as little as 2 minutes by going to gitstream.cm. To get started, you install it via the GitHub or GitLab marketplace. Create a couple of automation rules using YAML configuration files inside your Git repo, and then watch GitStream take effect on your next PR. But actions speak louder than words. So I want to start by showing you what it looks like after you set up your repo for GitStream. I set up a demo repo that will make it easy for me to test workflows related to security alerts from Sonar Cloud. We're going to look at two PRs. The first shows what happens when Sonar detects a vulnerability in the PR, and the second shows what happens when a PR passes all of Sonar Cloud's quality checks. So in this repo, I have 3 CM configuration files. The first reviews Sonar security alerts. The second labels PRs with Sonar Cloud quality reports. And the third approves PRs that pass all Sonar quality checks. My first PR includes a known vulnerability, and now I'm going to submit it. Here in a moment, the status checks will kick off for this, including Sonar. Give it just a moment. There we see GitStream starting to process the PR. And here in just a couple of seconds, Sonar will report its findings. Here we see that Sonar has found one vulnerability. So GitStream is going to detect this and now do 3 things. First, it's going to require a review from my organization's security team. There's going to be no notification at this stage. You'll actually just see it appear as a failed status check down below. GitStream is also going to post a comment to give the author and any reviewers additional context, and then label the issue with the number of vulnerabilities, which provides additional context when you share the PR in places like Slack, for example. So this codifies your security process in a way that can be uniquely customized to account for things like PR authors, affected software components, and more. So this first example covers a workflow for when things need human review. So now let's look at how GitStream can unblock workflows to keep developers focused on productive work. So my second PR is an update to the exact same project's documentation. This is a task that, as I mentioned, not everyone, wants to focus on, but it's entirely necessary, and it helps reduce tech debt, it helps support the team, and it really is also a safe change that has extremely limited risk to merging without additional human review. So this PR here in a moment, we'll see that it's going to pass all of our Sonar quality checks. But this time, things are going to happen a little bit differently. So here in a moment, we should see Sonar Cloud report. And there it is. It passed all of our quality checks. And this time, GitStream is going to, once again, detect that. But instead, it's going to approve the PR, post a label that explains that this is a clean code submission, and then post a comment that gives a little bit more context about the actions that it's taking. So maybe your organization isn't quite ready to get away from one-size-fits-all review policies that require one or more approvals from someone other than the PR author, but maybe you could consider making GitStream that only or first approval to reduce the amount of review pickup time your organization experiences. Here in a moment, we'll take a look at other ways you can customize GitStream to unblock developer workflows. But first, we want to briefly cover how all of this works. GitStream makes it super easy to set up programmable workflows that automatically classify and route PRs based on their context. So it uses YAML and Jinja 2, which provides a clean yet flexible configuration format with templating that makes it easy to customize workflows to your individual needs. All automations follow an if this, then that execution format that allows you to define trigger conditions and automation actions for each PR. So GitStream offers filter functions that let you trigger automations based on things like the files or lines of code that are changed, the content of PR, the PR author, statuses that are reported by things like Sonar, and more. And when triggered, GitStream can create and modify PR labels and comments, auto assign reviewers, request changes, and automatically approve PRs, among other functions. The result is a tool that makes it very easy to implement workflow automations to improve velocity, quality, and compliance with policy as code. So now, Ofer, I'd like to hand it off to you. Would you mind walking us through a few examples of how you can do this with GitStream?
Yeah, would love to. Okay, thank you, Ben. First and foremost is I think the easiest thing is to add labels, add context to the PR. And when you install GitStream, actually, the default configuration includes what you see here with the time to review estimation. And this is a basic capability of GitStream, which demonstrate also how flexible it is, because what you see here, you see that GitStream can allow you to run some analysis on your PR, and based on that put labels, so it can be who did the PR or what files were changed. Or in this case, you can see that it can actually assess and give an estimation for the review time, and this helps everyone like to understand the complexity of the PR, and creates also the awareness of when you want like to help your team to reduce the size of PRs. This is highlights and highlights it and make it like a tool for your team. The other thing that you can see is that you can also highlight PRs with that not conform with the best practices, like no test. If you didn't change any test in your PR, it means I mean, it's not the ideal thing to do. The same thing you can do with documentations, or not having a Jira ticket, and so on and so forth. You can and you can customize everything.
Yeah, and something I want to call out in this example that's pretty unique to GitStream. If you notice, it says 5-minute review. Not, a lot of other tools will divide things like this up into like small, medium, large. GitStream, on the other hand, because it has this templating capabilities built into it, you can pull variable information that provides deeper context, like a precise number of minutes that it takes to review something, and use that within your automation. So that really is one of the key things that makes GitStream just super flexible.
Yeah. Next is about velocity. So we said that some of the PRs might not need like human time to review. You can actually decide upfront on several rules that you can check automatically, and if everything is okay, these things can be approved by Gitstream or even merged. And we see a lot of team adopt that approach, and it accounts for 10 to 15% of their PR time that they reduce. Usually they pick safe changes as changes to documentation and test and formatting, non-functional stuff. Sometimes they even take it to things that version bumps by Dependabot and other bots. And again, not one thing fits all. It depends on the team. It depends on the project, on the level of risk or how you see things, right? And this is what unique with GitStream. You can calibrate it to fit your needs.
Yeah, and we've heard from some of our users that this feature specifically makes it feel like they have 2 or 3 extra developers on their team just dedicated to PR reviews. And specifically, we've heard that it helps these teams stay much more focused on like the tasks that really matter. And the research we've done backs this up. The average pickup time for a PR is just under 8.5 hours, which means that every single auto approve like this could potentially be saving you an entire working day worth of delays. So that's pretty huge.
Oh, this is my one of my favorite parts. So you want to ensure that the right reviewer comes to check your review, right? And in small teams, in your PR, and in small teams, it's easy. But what happens when things like your company succeeds and scales? Things gets complicated, and now you have new members, and no, not everyone know everyone, and there is a lot of history. Usually, I guess that at least half of you heard or use code owners, right? Because you map between files to code owners. But this solution also, and this is what we hear from our users, is it's a problem. It's static. It doesn't scale. Okay, um, and this is where code experts come in. What GitStream allows you to do is to analyze each PR, see with Git blame who did the changes, and with Git commit activity to see who was more active lately, and sum this up over all the files that change in the PR, and bring on top the few users or contributors that are the most knowledgeable or active in this area. And actually you get this like you can automate who gets to review the code, and now it's data driven decision and it's dynamic. You don't have to maintain the code owner's file.
Perfect.
Quality. So you have an incident, right? How usually when I mean when you have when you establish a company and you have your project, you set the PR process, you have one reviewer, and then you have an incident, and then there is a decision to increase the number of reviewers because you don't want things to get out of control. But the problem is with that is you do it on all the PRs. So you start paying this tax over every and any change. This is just pure waste, right? With GitStream, you can codify when you need more reviewers. And then you actually, when you isolate these PRs and changes, you are actually saving the time for the other PRs, and you also educate the team where are the most or more sensitive parts in code, because you actually codify that, right?
Yeah, you know, no developer wants to be the person who has to like message their colleagues to just get a quick thumbs up on a simple change. You know, so when organizations implement all of these like one size fits all policies, like it really can be disruptive and demotivating to development teams. So, you know, being able to like explicitly define when you have to have those extra reviews sort of frees up that other side, so that when you have these safer changes or things that don't need as much scrutiny, they can be, you know, unblocked. And then when someone does have to ping their coworker to get a review, they know that there's a legitimate reason for that. Like it's actually something that's necessary because you've codified it into your merge process.
Okay, and last is about requesting changes automatically. And where it comes is you remember your last team decision to adapt the best practice, stop using some library or using another thing. And then I hate most is to be like the nitty picky leader that needs to every time to comment again and again on the same thing, because team members they tend to like sometimes to keep with old habits, and this automation actually allow you to reduce friction, because as a team when you decide on something you can codify that, you can list all your deprecated APIs, and then put it as an automation that every time that someone uses that, it will automatically ask either comment or ask you to change with GitStream. And what you saved friction, right? Because I don't want to be that person. And you actually also saved me some context switch, because now when I will come when the PR is ready, not when like there are things that open like that.
Yeah, and this one has surprised me how popular it is, and it's because we've seen teams that auto detect like dozens of deprecated components. And on one hand, it might be a good thing to have this automation in place to detect it. It's actually very wonderful to see people getting so much benefit out of this. But on the other hand, it's a little sketchy to see so many deprecations in some of these code bases. But at least there's a solution for it. Yeah, thanks for walking us through these helpful examples, Ofer. And of course, the tool only matters if it delivers results, and we have some data to show what teams have achieved with GitStream. So since we launched it, GitStream has processed more than 80,000 PRs, and we found that 61% of adopters reduced their overall cycle time. So this is the amount of time between when a developer starts work on a project and when code is finally merged into production. These organizations also saw a 56% decrease in PR pickup time on average and a 38% decrease in review size. So GitStream users are both starting and completing code reviews faster as a result of adopting GitStream. These organizations also saw a 28% decrease in PR size, which, as we mentioned before, is a really important factor in making the review process more efficient while reducing the potential for risky merges. So, the benefits of implementing merge policy as code are pretty clear.
Amazing.
And now we want to talk a little bit about the future of continuous merge, how we view this. So, Ofer, would you mind walking us through what we have in store for everyone?
Yeah, sure. So the things that coming up with GitStream is, first of all, we just launched a UI application that allows you to start controlling your pipeline, because you'll see every and each automation and how many time it ran, and actually how much time it actually saved you, right? And this is amazing. The other thing is we are starting to have integrations with GitStream. Right now, it supports integration with Swim, which is a documentation framework, JIT, which is a security tool to keep your PR safe, right? And SonarCloud, which it's a common tool for quality, ensuring quality in PRs. And all in all, these are just the start. We will also allow you in very soon to actually implement your own logic in JavaScript and use that in your condition in the rule engine. This is one. And we also see the vision of GitStream is to automate parts, right? To apply more automation. And we see a lot of potential with not only not only automating the PR process and things around it, but also to leverage and take this rule engine and make better use of your CI and CD pipelines, right? Because right now, every code change, usually you automate in the same way. And there's no reason for that. I mean, you don't need to run the end-to-end testing when you change only like colors in your CSS, right? And this is something that we are addressing, and I think like in the next talk probably will be able to show some cool stuff.
Exciting things. I know I'm personally excited for those last two things in particular, because it's just going to open the door for so many new possibilities with GitStream. So really great to see this coming. So that's everything that we have for you today. So I want to thank everyone for joining this session. If you want to continue with what we demonstrated here, you have a few options. So first, you could head over to gitstream.cm and get started building your first GitStream automations, or you could actually just book a demo with one of our experts to get some guidance on how to implement it for your team. Another option, you can go read our new continuous merge standards guide that will walk you through many of the ways that you can implement continuous merge for your organization. Or you could sign up for the final session in our summer season on July 18th that will focus on translating everything we learned from these first two sessions into business outcomes. So you could do one of these, you could do all three of them, but choose your own journey. So Have a great summer, everyone. Thanks, Ofer, for coming out today and helping me out with this session.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
I enjoyed.
Thanks.